I'm Rob.
I'm Nate.
And welcome back to Rob and Nate Record a Podcast. This is week 4, our concluding week of our Steve Martin theme month. And for tonight's selection, we went in the Wayback Machine to Steve Martin's first feature film, The Jerk, from 1979.
I was thinking, it's been a month that we've been doing this, 4 weeks and 3 days, but to me it seems like 9 weeks and 5 days. The first day seemed like a week, and the second day seemed like 5 days. And the third day seemed like a week again, and the fourth day seemed like 8 days. And the fifth day, you went to see your mother, and that seemed like just a day. And then you came back, and later on the sixth day in the evening, when we saw each other, that started seeming like 2 days. So in the evening, it seemed like 2 days spilling over into the next day. And that started to seem like 4 days. So at the end of the sixth day, on into the seventh day, it seemed like a total of 5 days. And the sixth day seemed like a week and a half. I have it written down, but I can show it to you tomorrow if you want to see it. We watched The Jerk!
Yeah?
I'd never seen The Jerk. Had you seen The Jerk?
Oh, yeah, I've seen The Jerk. I saw that several times as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any, specifically distinct memories other than a couple of specific scenes and things like that, and the dog. Yep. But yes, this was your first time seeing this movie, so let's get your first reaction.
I knew it had a reputation. It is funny. I mean, you heard me. I laughed quite a bit throughout this. It's very late 1970s. There's a lot of humor in it that you really couldn't do now.
I was going to say, could you make this movie today?
You'd be hard pressed to.
Yeah.
It's not PC, but I don't get any ill will from it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a goofy, funny movie.
Why don't you give us a plot synopsis?
Yeah, the loses to plots basically to string together Steve Martin gags. So Steve Martin, his character's name is Navin Johnson, and he was born a poor black child in Mississippi, or so he thinks. Raised by a poor black family who don't tell him until he's grown up that he's not their biological child. And he listens to the radio one night after a gospel hour, some accordion music. And this music speaks to him as nothing has ever spoken to him before.
And it's being broadcast from St. Louis.
So he decides he has to go to St. Louis to find this music. So he sets out and hitchhikes. He does make it to St. Louis. He never really does anything about the music once he gets there because he gets distracted because Jackie Mason gives him a job at a gas station. And then Emmett Walsh picks his name out of a phone book he was very pleased to see his name in print in, to kill with a gun. And at first he thinks that, he hates these cans because these oil cans are getting shot. And so he runs away from Emmett Walsh, and he ends up as part of a carnival where he gets a girlfriend and then meets...
Played by Ren Woods. Yes. Oh, wait, no, that's the wrong one.
No, that's Caitlin Adams, I think.
Yeah.
And then he meets Bernadette Peters, and they fall in love, and she leaves him for kind of unspecified reasons.
Because he hasn't made it something of himself. Because he was supposed to have a special purpose.
But he has a special purpose.
Yes.
As we find out.
Yeah.
And so he ends up going to Los Angeles, and he gets an apartment, but he sustains himself by giving blood.
Yeah. And
he has to stop doing that when he cuts himself shaving and nothing comes out but air.
Yep.
And so he's in dire straits, and Emmett Walsh shows back up, but not to shoot him because he's better now, but to give him notification to go to Century City and meet this man that he had met previously at the gas station, and he had jury-rigged a gizmo for putting his glasses off and on and keeping them from falling off, which they called the Optigrab. And this guy had told him, it's like, if I can make something out of this, I'll give you half the proceeds. And he does. It becomes a sensation. And so he becomes super rich overnight. He tracks down Bernadette Peters. They fall in love, or they're already in love. They get married, and they spend a heck of a lot of money and
on ridiculous
stuff. And he gets interviewed for some kind of news magazine, but they don't show much of his interview because of breaking news having to do with the Optigrab that Carl Reiner, the director of this film, among others, has launched a class action suit against the Optigrab because the little thing you Optigrab onto, your eyes are drawn to it, and it causes you to go cross-eyed. And so there's a trial, and the class action suit wins, and so
Including being led by a judge who is cross-eyed from
Played by
the
William
Alki Grove.
Schallert, who I have met. And Navin then has to give everybody $1.08. $1.09. And so he and Bernadette Peters have a bit of a falling out, and they're like, where was the person that I fell in love with? And so he sets out on his own with the only things he needs, which is an ashtray, the paddle game, remote control, these matches, a lamp, the chair, and I think a pitcher. But he eventually trades those for a thermostat, which he had dreamed. A thermos, yeah. That he had dreamed of giving Bernadette Peters. He ends up living on the street, which is where he narrates his story to us. And then at the end, his family, to whom he had been sending money regularly, had done an excellent job of investing it. And Bernadette Peters has come back to him, and they all drive off back to the country. Unfortunately, they did have to tear down that old house, despite how much they loved it, and they built a bigger one.
Yes.
Which is the exact same house, just on a larger scale.
Yep.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It's a funny movie. There's not a ton of depth to it. There's not meant to be a ton of depth to it.
No.
It is just, again, a loose plot to string together these gags of varying degrees of effectiveness. But Steve Martin really goes all in to play this jerk.
Yeah. You know, as I think back on my previous viewings of this, again, they're almost all from my childhood. I don't think I've seen this probably since the year 2000, like before the year 2000. You know, so it's been more than 20 years since I've seen this. In hindsight, I must have seen an edited version of this. Because who would allow a child to watch the full version of this? Although it's a rated R movie, but I can't see a lot that today would. If this was made today, I think it would be PG-13. Yeah. But it was rated R. But it must have been like I'm pretty sure most of the times that I saw it was on TV, so it must have been an edited version. I imagine
it would have been on basic cable a lot.
Yeah.
Somehow I never saw it.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, there's not a lot of depth here. It's a pretty straightforward movie, and like you said, it's the loosest of plot to string together a bunch of gags. Steve Martin does well in it. Bernadette Peters, what did you make of her?
I liked her in it.
Yeah.
She was fun. Do you have much knowledge or experience?
No.
She's primarily a Broadway singer.
Okay.
But
she clearly can sing in this.
She's shown up in at least one other Steve Martin film. She was in his version of Pennies from Heaven, an adaptation of the British miniseries, which I've not seen.
Yeah.
And then she was in Heart Beeps, and again, mostly Broadway stuff.
This movie had actually I'm not seeing budget information for it, but it looks like it had an opening weekend of $5.9 million. And it had a domestic gross of $73 million. Actually, it looks like its worldwide gross was a little over $73 million.
Well, I was actually seeing different figures for it on Wikipedia. Wikipedia says it cost $4 million to make and made $100 million.
So either way, quite a successful film.
Yeah, an extremely successful film.
There is some funny trivia about this.
Okay.
These are, as per my usual, coming from the trivia section of IMDb. Stanley Kubrick was a big admirer of this film, and he would often recite lines from the movie to cast and crew on his films, and he once invited Steve Martin over so they could play chess. Bill Murray apparently filmed a cameo that was deleted, and on Saturday night, December 15th, 1979, broadcast of Saturday Night Live, Murray jokingly reviewed The Jerk, saying, "I was in the movie, but cut out of it. That didn't influence my opinion. The movie is a dog. There's something missing. I don't know who it is. I can't say." The part where Navin licks Marie's face during their first date was completely improvised. Bernadette Peters didn't know it was coming, and her reaction was genuine. Steve Martin and Bernadette Peters were actually dating during the filming.
Oh, okay.
And at one point, I guess there was a rationing of gas, so they used to ride to the set together and would make up things to do on their drive into work together.
Oh, okay.
Things to do on the filming. According to Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up, his favorite line in the movie is ad-libbed, and it's when his character's hitchhiking and a man stops and asks, "St. Louis?" To which Martin replies, "No, Navin Johnson." And then he puts his dog in the front seat and he rides in the back. In the beginning of the movie, Navin is at the dinner table with his family and he bursts into tears. The director intentionally did not tell the actors who played his younger siblings about the scene. The astonished expression on their faces is genuine, since they didn't know what was happening. Oh, Steve Martin and the dog got off on the wrong foot when he accidentally dropped mittens on the animal's face, and from then on it cowered when he tried to pet it. Steve Martin recalled, "It was miserable. He hated me."
The 9th highest grossing picture in the U.S. for 1979.
Well, and that one says it also grossed over $100 million, which aligns with what you found. So, yeah, I think that's most of the good ones. As is common when we cover comedies, it doesn't seem like we're going to have a particularly long recording. It seems as though this film was fairly well received, though. It has an aggregate score on IMDb of 7.1 stars. How would you rate the movie, Nate?
And the film has a 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's good. Good is the rating for it. I'm giving it 3 stars. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10.
I think we're aligning on this one, 3 and 8 for me as well.
Because I think this is kind of what you want out of a comedy. It's a very classic type, almost ideal type comedy. It just, it works for what it is. It's not too long. It's about, 95 minutes?
Just over. It's 94 minutes, an hour and 34 minutes. So,
and it doesn't take itself obviously too seriously. It's funny throughout. It's got some memorable gags. We didn't even talk about the blue car towing the church behind it.
Yeah,
it's like if you see a blue Dodge and it's towing a small church behind it, that's probably it.
That's probably the one. It's a blue Chevy, by the way.
A blue Chevy. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, and how he discovers his special purpose with Patty Bernstein, played by Caitlin Adams, then in meeting Bernadette and some of those interactions, and Bernadette defending him, the opening even just with his family at home in Mississippi. It's very fun. It's an effective movie. Like you said, you laugh pretty consistently throughout.
He got his favorite meal.
Yeah.
Which was tuna fish sandwich on white bread with mayonnaise, Twinkies, and a tab. Now comes the challenge. We were talking about how this was going to be
the unenviable task of how do we rank?
How do you rank these?
These 4 films.
Going through them in order of viewing, it was Roxanne, followed by Leap of Faith, Shop Girl, and The Jerk. Do you want to start?
Sure. I think for me, Roxanne remains a sentimental favorite, and I think Roxanne is going to remain the top of the list for me.
Okay.
I was quite surprised by Leap of Faith, but I was touched more by Shop Girl. So I'm going to put Shop Girl second, Leap of Faith third, and for me, The Jerk remains at the bottom, which is entertaining considering that it's not a bad film. It's just a different style of film, and I appreciated the others that we watched a little bit more.
I'm going to go the same.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm going to go exactly the same.
I'm surprised. I didn't think that we were actually going to end up aligned on that. Yeah, you were kind of skeptical coming into Steve Martin month.
Yeah, I wondered if it would sustain. I think it's been a while since I've really watched much Steve Martin, but he's probably, I don't know if more of a range is what I want to say, but there's, he's not a one-trick pony by any stretch of the imagination. This was a pretty diverse offering of films that we got here.
Yeah. When you sign up for your next streaming service, at some point you're going to have to do Hulu, so you can watch Only Murders in the Building.
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed with how well, it started a little bit slow. You need to give it a couple episodes, but I was impressed with how well that held up. I'm glad that he made something again more recently. Mm-hmm. But he's just a consistent performer. Everything we watched this month was enjoyable. A couple of them were surprising. I was surprised how much I liked Shop Girl, and I was a little bit surprised by Leap of Faith. Mm-hmm. So,
good.
What other thoughts do you have for Steve Martin?
I think that pretty much summed it up.
Okay. Well, I'm Rob.
I'm Nate.
And this is Rob and Nate Record a Podcast. Okay. You ready?
Mash Bear Share and Mammoth.
You got an ad for us? An ad read?
Quality ad read.
For OptiGrab?
OptiGrab. Yeah, but that presents some issues.
Yeah. All right. You were skeptical coming into the month.
I was, yeah.
It worked out.
Yeah, it did.
I'm glad I insisted on that.
Yeah.
For once, I did not let down on a theme month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll see how that holds up when we get to June.
Yeah. Yeah.